Good morning, Cowboy Jim. Um, One of the things I've noticed about my videos is I do one video and I turn around and I've started to tell a short story and gee, didn't I just slip into another one? Forgot all about the first one, and it's kind of a wonderful joy of discovery when I rewatch my video to make sure that there's a certain level and or degree of decorum, uh, and hard to believe that would cross my mind, but it does. And so I was remembering my little Corvette, and then I I always go back to the basics in my life and my greatest mentors. Um, uh, Dear Lord, I could be going off on another tangent here. I just have to pull the reins in a bit and slow the team down a tiny bit, and I'll be just fine. Uh, I was 16 or 17, probably 17, and my family owned Martin's Camping at Wasaga Beach, and it was the biggest campground at Wasaga in the 60s, and and had 325 campsites. I mean, we sure could jam a lot of people in. And one night, a bear got a little too close to our horses, Wasaga Beach. Uh, One might be a little surprised that we'd have bear wandering down there, but we did. And so my mom and I, we were kind of on patrol, and at the time I was running a 64 Olds Cutlass 421 or 421, and hot little toy, two-door hardtop, and all that stuff, and so my mom and I were just hanging out together, and she had some lessons she was going to teach me and going to teach me, and she was kind of like my God. He doesn't tell me when you better get ready because you have a lesson coming, son, and my mom was just the same way. She didn't say a word, and so we kind of were touring around looking for the bear, and got back to the horse corrals, and we had ponies. Well, you'd call them Indian ponies if you didn't know better, but we had some, and five, six, maybe seven, and my old Uncle Stanley, he'd take care of renting them out, and it was like 25 cents for 10 minutes and that sort of thing. But it was enough that it covered the feed for the horses in the winter. And so Mom and I, we drove back around through the campground, just kind of slow, lights on, all that sort of stuff. Didn't want to run over anyone who was laying on the ground drunk. Oh, dear Lord, the tourist community. I was glad when I decided to get my boys moved. Of course, they weren't even born then, but boy, I tell you, when God gave me two sons, I took the responsibility pretty seriously, and I brought them to Alberta. And anyways, that night, instead of finding a bear, getting ready to invite one of our horses in for a meal, they being the meal, uh, saw a fuller, 20, 25-year-old, um, always said, my dad, when he wasn't a fighter, and And my mom had taught me how to be a fighter. And he'd call. I moved away from home when I was 17, might have been 18. Uh, Started my own stuff, and but my dad would call and he would say, "Need your help?" I said, "No problem. What do you want me to bring?" And he would say, "Shotgun, if it were real rough, baseball bat if it weren't, or he'd say, just come." And I would. And though I'd have to work the next day, unless it were Saturday night, but I worked a, and back then for me to spend the night, he wouldn't call until about 1 in the morning, so I'd get some sleep. And so that night, my mom and I, well, we found these four guys, and I said, I kind of pulled up so that the headlights shone on them a bit, and then turned the headlights off. And I said, I'll just get around and come in behind them and scare them, because my voice was always pretty deep. And sure no, my voice was deep, Josh. I better quit there. And she said, I'll just sit here, just watch. And I thought, geez. So anyways, I got out of the car, I circled out and around, I come up back in through the trees. I got about 10 feet from them, and they were actually throwing beer bottles at my horses, our horses, the camp's horses. It's just my horses. And so I spoke to them real hard. And I said, I'm going to hurt you. You get on down the road, children, or you'll regret the day you hesitated. And I spoke like that because I could back it up. But I did. My mom, lesson time, she just reached over, turned the headlights on. Well, those four guys, they were pretty impressive. And, well, didn't they all just start throwing what beer bottles they had left? And I'm not altogether convinced that they were empty necessarily. And I kind of exited stage left, and there are times, to pick your fights wisely. Although fighting is, well, you pick them. And those four guys, they were impressive, and they were big, and I guess in some ways maybe they did understand that they should move, but they didn't really understand, I guess, perhaps that I was the only one there. And but they didn't hit me. I worked my way out and around through the dark and come up on where my mom was sitting in my toy car. It was it was my car, but it was kind of the family car. And I climbed in beside her and I said, why'd you turn the headlights on? She said, well, there were only four of them. And I knew you could handle them. And I thought, there were still four. Oh, it's a funny thing. That woman one night was, we had a dance hall in the campground. I didn't help build it either. My dad did it all himself. I had already been away from home for about 4 or 5 years, and my mom was cooking French fries in the little kitchen part, and the fryer caught on fire, and she was trying to get it out. Apparently, I wasn't there. I kind of regret that. And she had put a piece of plywood over the top of the fryer, but the flames were still licking up around it because there was no weight on the plywood to hold it down. And somebody grabbed something, put on that plywood. Well, my mom was standing in front of it. My mom was built like Dolly Parton, and when I say that, I'm telling you, they could have been twin sisters. And that plywood went through, fell into the grease, and the grease came out and covered my mom from her shoulders, her arms, her breasts, melted the bra back then. Well, Mom had to wear a bra, I'll tell you that. Melted that right into the skin on her breasts, and she was a hairdresser. She taught me don't whine. Sorry, people, just kind of, this is Cowboy Jim. She taught me don't whine, bitch, nor complain. I never heard the woman complain. Not once. I learned that lesson. But I dropped in a few days later, and she was doing hair. Her arms were covered in gauze, and her arms and shoulders were getting tired. And I'm trying to remember the word that they used, but I can't. But they took a toothbrush, and every day she would have to scribe, I think. She would take that toothbrush and she would scrape all the pus from all the burns on her body, and they were big. And I saw her, she was such a good hairdresser, and I saw her drop her arms like this because the pain in her shoulders, it was too much. And when she dropped her arms, two splashes occurred. And that was when the liquid poured out from her wounds and hit the floor. I looked at that. I looked at her, and we made eye contact, and I thought, woman, you're more of a man than any man I ever met. She was. Not a hard woman, not a tough woman. She had a big, tender heart, but she knew how a man should be, and that's what she taught me. So I have spent my life, I have never seen a person suffer as she did, and bear it, and not complain. She did not complain. I don't complain. I've never suffered as she has. You know, you don't know what another has gone through. I don't know what you've gone through. I've tried this past year to get some attention for abused children, and abused children who have grown through that agony and horror and tried to acclimate themselves to being able to live in a world of hurt, psychological, physical memories, hard to forget. And I didn't understand as I should have understood, but you can't understand unless in some way you have experienced it a bit. And along came the elder abuser. I documented quite a bit about what he's done and did. And excuse me. Uh, I I experienced elder abuse. I experienced what it is like to see those cold shark-like eyes just lying to you, trying to break your spirit. That's what they used to do with horses, break their spirit. Thank God they don't do that anymore. Um, they just don't. And it's such a kindness. But her name was Velma E. Martin, and she was a fisher, and she was a woman who knew and trusted God. She left me and my three sisters and a deceased brother from when uh, he was born and died. It's my understanding. But my mom taught my sisters how to be women, taught me how to be a man, and she knew, and she did, and she had guts, and she had heart and compassion. If you have children, I, I, I have two sons. I taught them how to be men with big hearts. Four grandsons. That's what these videos are in part for, so that my grandsons will get to know me a little more than my one grandson. He called me last fall. I think it was Boomer. I'm not sure. One of my grandsons said, ask, you beat the hell out of anyone this week, Grandpa? Well, that's just not a good thing. Like, that's not a good thing. To have a grandson who I have portrayed myself as being, I guess, and in great part I am, but I have a heart for people. Which my mom taught me. And so, here, you have children. I hope you do. Tell you, I'd start a family over tomorrow. I'd be a better dad now than I was when I was younger. But you have children. Understand what you're teaching them, but moreover, understand what they're seeing in you, in your heart. If there's a man watching this, I hope so. Man up, son. Teach your children what it means to be a man and or a woman. And hopefully not all in the same body nowadays. Who knows? But people have choices. They walk in it, and that's fine. That's their choice. But remember what Solomon said to his son. He said, eat, drink, and be merry. And remember, you will meet God. I encourage you, you eat, drink, and be merry. And you remember, you will meet God. You may totally disagree. It's okay. I'm not offended. I hope you're not offended. I hope in Canada we still have enough freedom. Not much left. Not much left, children. But freedom to say, hey, I choose to believe in a creator. Boy, I tell you, that can bite you. That can really bite you. Because people who choose not to believe as I do, or perhaps as you do, they'll denigrate you. they'll do their best to humiliate you. But thank God I have such a collection of friends, and I mean good friends, and I, I, I couldn't even begin to count the number of them who they may not agree with me in every sense of the word, not agree at all necessarily in my belief systems, but they love me enough that they will show a little respect. There are those who don't. That's okay too. So remember, eat, drink, and be merry, but you will meet the Lord. God bless.